gonna go out on a limb and guess something about you. Within your circle of friends, family members, you're like that fitness nut, right? That weirdo. Like it's crazy to them how much you've modified your life for the sake of doing the gym thing, right? How often you go to the gym, your Instagram feed, kind of scary, right? Look, I get this because within my circle of friends, like I am that person. Like they love me very much, but I'm that dude. And I'll tell you what, I mean, I get it, I guess, right? When they look at what we do, it from the outside, it appears to be maybe a little obsessive, right? A little selfish. There is too much focus on like that, like it's just so vain, so much vanity, right? But I think anyone who's done this long enough, right? Look, most of us started going to the gym because we wanted to modify something about our appearance, right? Maybe you wanted that big old booty, those abs for the summer, right? And time goes on, we accomplish some of those goals. And, what keeps us around, it's just so many things, right? It, I know for myself, and I know especially if you are here, if you found us, you're probably doing this fitness thing, right? And what it's done for you is across many different metrics, not even necessarily related to the gym. It's impacted your life in a positive way, right? So reaching those goals, they don't make you maybe as happy as you thought they would, but for a lot of us, um, it gives us either the tools to apply to other important aspects of our life that are important when it comes to our happiness, um, and just there's so many benefits. Like I can't even, like, there was my first set of goals when I started training, and then and I thought those were going to be the perks. I didn't expect it to extend beyond that, but now if I go through my list and everything that lifting has done for me, I'd be there forever. This list would just be incredibly long, right? And because of this, especially if you feel how I feel about hoisting the iron, I almost feel like it's my duty to be an ambassador for lifting them weights, right? Like there's so much more to it than what it might appear to be on the outside. But I get it. I get it. I get it. Why? Because let me tell you this: even though you are kind of that weirdo within your group of friends, at the same time, your family and friends, there's certain aspects of what you're doing that they admire, certain qualities, traits that you have that they wish they had a little bit of. But that barrier is just so great because when they think of a gym, either because they did it for a while, they kind of fell off, maybe they fell off a few times, or it's just been so long, or it just never happened, that they feel that they are, I guess, so far gone, like so out of shape that there's like no fixing the situation, right? Um, but man, like they couldn't be any more wrong. And this is how I explain it to my people. When we have this conversation, right? It's some sort of holiday. Uncle pats the belly and wants to do something about it. Um, and especially if it's coming from like they legit mean it. Like they legit want to hear me out when it comes to this and my ideas. Um, which more often than not, they kind of do. But it's a sensitive subject for a lot of folks, and that's because, again, from the outside in, when they think of the gym, they think of going in there and making this a lifestyle. All they think is like, man, there's gonna be these like beautiful, jacked, tan, extra judgy people who are just going to be just just it's going to be judgy about my situation. So I can see why it's 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 hard. It's hard to get going with it. Um, Two things. I think all of us who are just gym rats through and through, I think it's in our best interest. Because if this has done you good, you got to spread the love, man. So whenever you see noobs, it's like help them out, encourage them, make them feel like they belong. But to those of us, to those people outside of the gym that perhaps come to us that, they want to get rolling, they just don't know how. They feel like, again, they're just too far gone where it's like nothing can fix them. Like, why even bother now? The comparison that I like to draw for them is that this is very similar. Your situation is very similar to, let's just say, the goal at hand was to get a tan, right? And this person that we're working with is super pale, right? I'm gonna compare this to weight training. There's a lot of parallels there. If we throw them out in the sun for way too long, too much, too soon, it's not going to expedite the results. As a matter of fact, it's probably going to slow them down a little bit. The same thing goes with training. You know, to some extent, like the more detrained, or untrained, you are, so the more out of shape, the more far gone you are, the easier it is to make progress. For us wackos who've been doing this for a long time, it's kind of like it's hard. Like we have to get all these things right in order to make progress beyond a certain point. But a lot of us, again, we made it this far because it was those initial strides that and that consistency that basically got us those results. We thought it was always going to be this way. It does slow down, but but early on it was fairly easy to progress, and that's what hooked us, right? So if more noobs knew that, hey, you don't need a whole lot in order to get rolling, I think they would be more likely to get started with this, more likely to commit for longer periods of time, because it's not a whole lot. It's a lot easier to manage and make part of your life, especially early on, especially the first year, than I think a lot of people think. So, what I want to do is look, I'm going to pimp out one of our products. And that's because to me, it would have saved me a whole lot of trouble once I decided, okay, this is what I want to do full time. So I was kind of lifting recreationally, ages 16 through 19. At some point when I was 19, I'm like, let me just do this. But I took a lot of wrong turns and I made it a lot harder than it needed to be. And I can see how a lot of people, had they taken the approach I did, where I overly complicated things, they wouldn't have lasted, right? Um, so for a rank beginner, if you know of someone who wants to get rolling with this and you want to expedite the process and you want to make their experience as smooth as possible, as efficient as possible, we have the muscle and strength pyramids down there. And especially the training section, because just training alone is going to do a lot for you if you're untrained, right? Again, if you are untrained, if you are out of shape, if you're too far gone, just that beginner training block, that those beginner training examples are going to do a whole lot for you. Just with that, you're gonna make some insane changes to your body, far more insane than anything I will accomplish over the next year, 2 years, 3 years. And that's just how it is when it's a noob, when you are a noob, right? So yeah, if there's someone out there who you think could benefit from those books, send them the link. Point them out in that point them in that direction, because quite often, hey, people have a little bit more willpower than noobs, a little bit more willpower than we give them credit for, uh, but because they're so more motivated and to some extent and for a certain length of period of time, they're willing to do almost whatever it takes, right, to make the changes in their lifestyle that is going to help them make the changes they want to make when it comes to their fitness. They can fall into some like pretty gnarly traps. So So, right, it's the next Netflix documentary that shows up, or this crazy new intense workout that so and so is doing. It's confusing, man. So, if you know of someone, help them out. Um, it's a great place to start. Like literally, when I look at those books, it's like, man, that's what it took me 10 years to learn that stuff. Um, but outside of that, when you see a noob in the gym, someone who's brand new, not necessarily all the way comfortable with being there, like instead of judging them, because I mean, I'll be the first to admit I've done that before, whether consciously or subconsciously. Help them out, befriend them, make them feel welcome, especially if you yourself were like one of the regs during those slots. So yeah, links to the muscle and strength pyramids below. With that said, I do have a lifting problem. I love it too much. And seriously, you might help someone out, change their life, help them get to the point where we're at, right? Um, so this is the big news to me right here. I was able to actually leg press like a true gentleman. I was able to get those calves to touch the hamstrings. And remember, because of that issue with my soleus, what was almost a tear, this is about 4 weeks later. I'm like, yo, like this is great. This is fantastic. I'm not gonna rush it. This is still in this rep range. I'd say this is still about, I'd say probably about 20-15% off from where I usually roam. Nevertheless, um, that just felt good. That just felt good. It was a bit scary, but hey, you make it past that point. A big part of it with injuries is like up here, and sometimes that mind game can have you do things that you're doing to protect your body, but at the end, they're actually making the lifting not so safe. So I think that was a big step in regards to that. Hey, look, the quads haven't suffered, but I think I was getting. It was a nice little break at first to not have a true squat pattern actually be part of my rotation, but I kind of miss the nerves now. Um, One thing I've been focusing on here actually is just staring at the ceiling as opposed to like folding over at my trunk, which sometimes can shorten the ROM and they bounce off myself. But also this way, I can't see what my legs are doing. So much like how it's better to squat without a mirror. I can feel things and correct them as they go. So reps are way more consistent that way. But man, that said, had me pumped. And then this right here is part of my rehab. So I'm adding ROM to the bottom of my calf raises. I'm like 80% there as well in regards to the ROM. Load is pretty close to where it was. Um, yeah, pre-injury. So yeah, it's going. We're out of the woods, and the pec's feeling good. Already, I was having a good time with my training, but these two little things are definitely going to make these last few weeks of this block that much more exciting. It's that nerve-wracking kind of exciting. It's like, okay, I know I'm about to do some things that I've never done before, possibly. Some big sets are coming up. So it's good to just have everything back in line and healthy again. Um, yeah, yeah. Let's see. The issue has been so this movement here has suffered. I actually brought down the load here. And again, we've gone over this how overlap, like, you can't do something because you do something on Friday often, especially the longer you do this and the bigger your strength spoon gets, right? Um, what you do on Friday can impact what happens on Tuesday, right? And because my chest pressing is getting back to normal, it's starting to impact my overhead pressing. So, so yeah, I had to actually lower it down by quite a bit. It's probably one of those things where once my body kind of gets settled to having like all the pressing kind of just doing its thing, it definitely isn't going to be a 10-pound dump. But I wouldn't be surprised if rather than doing the 85-pound dumbbells on this movement, I find the 80s to be enough to do the job. So yeah. When I wasn't really pressing for my chest, this thing was just flying. And now the first after my first full week with, I'd say my press is pretty close to back to normal. Um, loads that do a little something. It's been, yeah, and this is with my feet up. So once I bring my feet down in order to make it really really stable, uh, who knows? That's gonna be a can of worms. But yeah, that's where we're at with the pec, the calf, and then this training block's really about to get really good. Um, Again, this is a huge change that I've made. I've talked about this before. My incline pressing. So this is influenced by my buddy Casim. He lives like right down the road. Super cool dude. Um, and and I didn't like this pressing or the way he recommends to do an incline press. Where again, clavicular head is coming down this way. So maybe this arm path, this the humerus should kind of be angled in a way, and you should really try to scoop up those clavicular fibers. um, I didn't like it because I was weaker, but it's getting better. But this is what it looks like from the top. Um, yeah, still not. I think it can be a tiny bit more tucked in, just a wee bit. But nevertheless, I think in regards to my upper chest, even through this layer of off-season potential energy, um, I've already seen some changes, and now that everything is healthy up here, we're really going to be able to take it to the house in a safe manner. So there's that. This has been my. It's kind of again influenced by my homie Kasim. What it feels like is a much more comfortable and stable moto row, because I was getting to the point with those moto rows where I was doing the whole stack, so it was like right around my body weight, so it was hard to keep myself like from falling over. But with this setup, so much more stable. And I mean the lats look like they're working, so this is going to be another fun one these next few weeks. Only issue is I'm running out of weight, but again we'll figure something out. You can always add pauses at the end, add sets, right? Maybe go a little bit closer to failure on the earlier sets, things like that. We'll figure it out. But yeah, this is going to be a fun one for sure, because I got good thickness, but yeah, in those back lat spread poses, I definitely tend to lose a little ground on stage. It's a not a bad looking back structurally, but um, I'm just not as wide as some of those guys, mostly because of my skeletal structure. But nevertheless, we're gonna do what we can to yeah, to take down some of those freaks. Of course, it's still a super arm centric, um, and I think it's working, but we'll confirm. So I'm not measuring no more, because I told you guys I was not supposed to measure. I measured, and actually I'm up almost a quarter inch on the arms. So there you have it. Right, prioritizing things does work. And then what you're going to see in this last clip here was I did have to bring out the PFR wraps, because again, all this pressing that I'm doing now, my elbows were like, "Yo, bro, cool it." So again, we just had a podcast on this. I think it was last week, on blood flow restriction training, and it's just a handy tool, especially for days like this, where you don't make a small problem into a big problem, but you're still able to get some really good work in. So especially with my elbows, which can be moody, it yeah, it's saved my butt a number of times, and it did for me just the other day. So yeah, no, I'm getting healthy. Got 6 more weeks left of this training block, and then we deload, and hopefully we stay healthy, and yeah, hopefully I bring back some gains for you guys. So with that said, thank you for joining me, having a ball, having a blast, and I couldn't be happier with all the things are going well, and even the things that weren't going so well. It's like, hey, you learn from those, right? And those will make you wiser over the long term. So that's it. See y'all next week. Thank you for joining and listening.